Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Today, we got the second video in our annual series going over some Young Guns. Today, we're going over the top 5 2022-2023 Young Guns heading in the next season that I think could go up in value over the course of the next NHL season. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you check out the first video in this series where I went over the 2023-24 Young Guns, my top 5 picks for that class. And if you guys are brand new to the channel, if you enjoy what you see here today, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's completely free and you can change your mind at any time. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy. Comment down below your picks for this list. Don't forget, this is just my list. My list isn't the right list. I want to see your guys' top 5 lists down in the comments below. Make sure you do that. And make sure you follow us on Instagram as well at our sports cards. And without further ado, let's kick things off with number 5. As per usual, this is not financial advice. Please invest in sport cards at your own risk. And number 5 here is actually going to be someone that I'm going to break a rule for. I almost never put defenseman on this list, but today I'm putting Jake Sanderson here at number 5 of the Ottawa Senators for a few different reasons. I really love the departure of Jacob Chikrin for Jake Sanderson. I think he's primed to take that next step with this Ottawa Senators team. If the Ottawa can turn this around, I think this is a strong enough market to really have Jake Sanderson's card spike in value, and I really like his offensive upside as a defenseman. That combined with his draft capital being a former 5th overall pick, I just think Jake Sanderson could be primed for a breakout season next year. Last year, he registered 38 points in 79 games on a bad Ottawa Senators team. Now, it's not to say that this Ottawa Senators team has really changed a whole lot. Honestly, they're still pretty similar, but if they could finally take that next step, I think Jake Sanderson is going to be a huge part of that. Of course, guys like Brady Tkachuk will also be at the forefront, but I think if Ottawa is going to finally make it back to the playoffs, I think Jake Sanderson has to be their workhorse on the back end. Of course, they still have Thomas Chabot. I just think there's more offensive upside with Jake Sanderson, and Thomas Chabot has a really troubled injury history. If both Thomas Chabot and Jake Sanderson can stay healthy, I think that'd be a huge bonus for the Senators in their playoff push and try to finally make the playoffs once again. I don't know if they're there yet, just looking at this roster on paper, but if they are, I think Jake Sanderson's cards could definitely go up. As per usual, all graphs are courtesy of Sport Card Investor for PSA 10 Young Guns in US dollars. As you can see, one recently sold a Jake Sanderson PSA 10 Young Guns for 65 US. I think that's a fair price, but keep in mind if you are going to buy into Jake Sanderson, he's a defenseman, and defensemen, they usually take longer to go up in value unless they're like a big time offensive superstar. Jake Sanderson, I think, could get to that level. Will we see it next season, though? We're just going to have to wait and see. All right, up next, number 4 is probably going to be an unpopular pick, and I'm sure most of you won't have him on your list, but I really like Lukas Reichel heading in the next season with the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, there is a lot of downside, I would say, with Reichel heading the next season, but the upside of being on Connor Bedard's wing, I think, is just terrific, and especially for his cards right now, they're dirt cheap because of how bad he did last season. I think he could bounce back. I think last year was just a sophomore slump. He's a former 13th overall pick. I think he still has a lot of offensive upside that's yet to be shown at an NHL level, and I really like his overall game as a forward. Taking a look at his stats from last season, you can see he only registered 16 points over the course of 65 games. Now, that's obviously not what you want to see, but the year before in his rookie season, he had 15 points in 23 games, and what I find very encouraging is that he registered 8 points in 10 AHL games still last season. That's what I want to see from Reichel. I want him to be around a point per game. Now, obviously, that's not really going to boost his value all that much unless Chicago is really in the hunt, unless Bedard and Reichel go absolutely insane. The main issue with Reichel is the Blackhawks, they go out and they add all these new wingers. They add Tyler Bertuzzi, they get back Taylor Hall, Teuvo Teravainen. I don't think Lukas Reichel is going to have a role in that top 6 unless injuries were to occur. So a lot would have to go right for Lukas Reichel to really go up substantially next season, but I can't deny the upside of him playing with Bedard. I felt like I had to have him on this list, and it is my list. Let me know why I'm wrong down in the comments below. Looking at the daily faceoff projected lines, this doesn't really help my case as they currently have Reichel projected to be playing on the 4th line. If Lukas Reichel is stuck playing in the bottom 6 the whole season, this card will not go up in value straight up. If you're going to be buying into Reichel for next season specifically, you're going to be betting on an injury to either Taylor Hall or Teuvo Teravainen, for example, who both have had really troubled injury histories in the past. I just think they're not going to go a whole season with keeping Lukas Reichel in the bottom 6. I think he's going to get some top 6 playing time, and his cards are basically like you can pick up his Young Guns raw for like $3. I think it's just a good buy. Because my thought process is, even if Reichel somehow doesn't get playing time in the top 6 next year, I think if you look at all those wingers, they're all kind of in like their 30s on the backside of their career. Lukas Reichel's kind of the only other young winger currently in the lineup that could jump in and get chemistry with Bedard right away. Now, obviously, they do have lots of prospects coming in the pipeline line that could take his spot if things don't work out with Bedard. But as of right now, Reichel's the youngest guy in that lineup that could build chemistry with him. Up next, number 3 is a guy I think who could actually lead his team in goals. I'm a big fan of Dylan Gunther. I think Dylan Gunther, at the end of last season, he really turned it on. And I just think with moving to Utah, I think a lot of these guys that have been stuck in Arizona for a while, stuck in their pipeline, will finally get some fresh air in Utah and finally break out. Now, I'm looking at guys like Clayton Keller. Of course, Keller's been spectacular, but I think he could take another step. Guys like Barrett Hayton, guys like that. But Dylan Gunther, who's a little younger, he really showed a lot of goal-scoring promise near the end of last season. He's currently projected to be playing with Logan Cooley, and I just think this really young Utah Hockey Club team, their first year, could get some really passionate fans behind them and have their cards go up in value. Gunther registered 35 points in 45 games on a bad Arizona team, and that's pretty impressive, including 18 goals. And that's why I really like Gunther heading to the next season. I think he could be the big goal scorer on this team. I think he's going to be the big shot on the power play. And if he's going to lead the team in goals, I think Utah fans will start to like him. As I stated previously, he's projected to play on the second line with Logan Cooley and Lawson Krause. And I think this is obviously likely to change when training camp starts. I could definitely see him along the top line there with Barrett Hayton and Clayton Keller. Really, I just like him for the goal scoring upside, and I think the Utah hockey market might be actually decent. We'll have to wait and see. Taking a look at his graph here, you can see Dylan Gunther, PSA 10 Young Guns sell for around $65, $70 US. That's about right, I would say. I could definitely see this going up if he was to score 40, maybe even 50 goals. I think 50 goals is a big stretch, but if he was to score 40, a lot of people will be impressed, and I could see this Young Guns going up. All right, at number 2 next is going to be someone who actually was at number 1 when I started making this video, and I had to move him down because I have some concerns with his card specifically that I'm going to get to in a minute. But first, let me tell you who it is. It's Wyatt Johnston of the Dallas Stars. Now, I think without a doubt, Wyatt Johnston is the best player right now in this Young Gun class. I think he's currently the best player. What he showed us last year in the playoffs showed me that he is a true superstar. He's going to be a superstar in the NHL, and I believe it. But I have some concerns. I'm going to get into those concerns now. Looking at Johnson's stats from last year, he scored 65 points in 82 games, as well as 16 points in 19 Stanley Cup playoff games as a sophomore. That's just really impressive stuff. So my concerns aren't with Johnson, the player. My concerns are with the Dallas card market, because if Johnson gets to a point per game, say best case scenario, Johnson gets to 100 points, I think that's when his cards would really go up. But if Johnson's around a point per game, I just don't know if Dallas Stars fans will care. Because I'm looking at the Jason Robertson situation. Jason Robertson is a consistent 40-goal scorer, and his cards just don't sell for a lot because he plays for Dallas. I think that could be a very similar situation here with Wyatt Johnston. So I just had to move him down from 1 to 2. I still think he's the best player in this Young Gun crop. I just couldn't have him at number 1 for those reasons. Just for me, if you look at guys like Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson, who are both elite players, they just don't sell for a ton because they play in Dallas. Miro Heiskanen even. Now, Miro Heiskanen is, of course, a defenseman. Defensemen don't sell as well in the hobby, but he doesn't really sell for a lot. Jake Ottinger, he's a goaltender, but he doesn't really sell for a lot. It's just nobody, unless he's an absolute stud, unless he gets 100 plus points. I just don't know if he's going to gain substantial value next season. So I'm a little worried. So I had to move him down to number 2, but I do think he's the best Young Gun here still, like I've said. Johnston's PSA 10 Young Guns currently sells between $160 US and $195 US. Now, it's probably correct based on what he did last season. I just don't know if the Dallas card market's strong enough to really have Johnston hold substantial value, unless, of course, he hits like 100 points and he's an absolute superstar. Complete possibility. Then I think this card could definitely gain some value. All right, before we get to number 1 on the list, I'm going to go over some honorable mentions that just didn't make the list. Matt Boldy just missed this list. I probably should have had him on there, to be honest, but he is an honorable mention, along with guys like Marco Rossi, Jack Quinn, Kent Johnson, Matty Beniers, Matthias Michelli, Owen Power, Peter Kochetkov, Andrei Kuzmenko, Brant Clark, and Shane Wright. But yeah, without further ado, at number 1, I think you guys know who it's going to be. It's Uri Slafkovsky of the Montreal Canadiens. A bit of a homer pick, but I honestly think Uri Slafkovsky has the best chance to go up in this Young Gun class simply because of the market. The Montreal market is crazy. If Slafkovsky is scoring at the same pace as a guy like Wyatt Johnston, this is the main reason why he moves Slafkovsky into 1 over Johnson. If Slafkovsky and Wyatt Johnston are both scoring a point per game, I just think Slafkovsky's Young Guns are going to go up more than Johnson's just because of that market. Looking at Slafkovsky's stats from last season, 55 points in 82 games. Now, of course, that's impressive, but we haven't seen that real superstar level outbreak that we've seen from a guy like Wyatt Johnson. If Wyatt Johnson was in Montreal's market as well as Uri Slafkovsky, Wyatt Johnson would definitely be number one. But the crazy Montreal market, I think there's a lot more risk with a guy like Uri Slafkovsky. Like if Slafkovsky struggles, I think his cards will go down dramatically more than a guy like Wyatt Johnson's would. There's more risk with Slafkovsky, but I think there's also more upside. Slafkovsky's currently projected to play with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield yet again, and I think that's definitely what they're going to start the season with. Now, it is possible if Slafkovsky struggles out of the gate, they move a guy like Line onto the top line with Suzuki. I think they definitely want to see Line and Suzuki play together at some point next season. I'd be surprised if they didn't, but for right now, definitely out of camp, Slafkovsky's going to stay on the top line. Looking at this price graph for Uri Slafkovsky's Young Guns, I think these prices are actually pretty high considering he hasn't really done a whole lot. With a high of 330 US dollars, I think that's pretty high. He would have to really exceed expectations next season, I think, to kind of gain substantial value. But we'll have to wait and see. The Montreal market is crazy. Anything can happen. So that's going to do it for today's list. Make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on the next list we'll be doing. It should be coming out in about a week or so. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy. And like I said, comment down below your top 5 22-23 Young Guns heading in the next season below. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.